In this video, we'll be taking a look at the brass and wind instruments here in GarageBand because they're kind of awesome. So let's go and jump in and get started. If it's your first time here, my name's Pete. This is Studio Live today. My goal here is to help you create, record, and release your best music. Today, we're going to be doing it in GarageBand. Now, before we jump in and check out the instruments, we're going to start with loops. Because not only are they cool brass instruments, there are some audio loops, some Apple loops that have some brass sounds. So we're going to lay ourselves a bed of brass and then we're going to create a song. So let's dive in. We're going to go to the audio recorder just so that we can jump in here and then tap on track view. If you're following along at home, you can do the same. So here we are in the track view. We're going to go to Apple loops, which is up here in the top right. And I've already been searching for some horns. So I've already got an idea of some of the cool horns that we're going to use. Now, one that I really like is this one here. So if you're adding an Apple loop to preview it, you tap it. That's going to be a cool little intro for us. So this is only 2 bars. We're going to grab this and we're going to drag it on in. And there you go. But we don't want it all the way across here. We just want this for 2 bars. So we're going to grab this and pull it on back. And you may notice here that I already have a couple of sections set up here. So if you haven't got that, let's just pretend you don't, because you won't. If you're doing this, if you're following along at home. So we will delete out this section by sliding across and hitting delete. This one will leave us 10 bars because what we actually want to do is do that as our 2-bar intro. And then we're going to add in another loop to continue on with this. And here's one I prepared earlier. There are some cool horns in here, like these, where's the Latin ones? The Latin Day horns are cool. Check this out. Nice, yeah? This is going to be a bit more of a funky beat as opposed to a Latin beat. So we're going to go with something different. And the Empire State horns are the ones that I want to use. Pretty cool, yeah? So let's bring those in. Again, drag them and drop them. And now we've got ourselves set up there. We want to move into another section. So if you've never used sections before, we've got a heap of videos about sections here on the channel if you want to learn more. But in its simplest form, we tap in the big plus in the top right corner. And I say big, even though it's small. We hit add, and we've got another 8-section bass loop there. We can change that by tapping in there and moving it up and down, and you can have as many or as few as you want. We're going to go with 8. Or do we go 6? No, we'll go 8. We're just creating a little small track here today. So we'll go another 8 bars, and there you go. We've now got this second section. And what was the one I tried before? The Prismatica. The Prismatica pack is our sort of funky, sort of 70s disco pack. And we've got these cool Prismatica horns here. Check them out. Right? That's going to sound great. So we'll move this in, we'll drop this in here into this section. And now, if we tap in the plus in the top right and we go to all sections, we've got ourselves a nice little bed of horns. So we start with our Be Together horns. It's then going to move into our Empire State horns. And then we've got this transition from those. We'll just do these 2 bars so you can hear how they transition out of those and into these Prismatica to change it up a bit. So that's going to be cool. That's our little bed of sound that we're going to work with here. So let's start by adding some instruments. We are going to need some percussion or some drums or something in here too. So we're going to move a little bit away from these instruments, but let's get started. We're going to start with the brass ensemble. So to add this, we tap the plus button in the bottom left. We scroll across to our keyboard instrument. And down at the bottom right, you'll notice we've got more sounds. Now, this is where you access all of your different sounds. So if you go to keyboards, you've got all of your regular pianos and electric pianos and organs and things. You've got all of the Alchemy synth, which we've covered in details in other videos. If you want to check those out, just search my name, Pete John's Alchemy. You'll find how to use those. You've got your classic synths, your basses, your leads, your FX, but other is kind of where it's at, because down here we have our flute, clarinet, oboe, bassoon, French horn, ensemble, glockenspiel, strings, the pipa, the bass. You got a whole bunch of cool stuff down here. So let's tap on brass ensemble, and this is a very cool instrument. This is what you heard at the start there. So it's a bunch of brass instruments. You got some trumpets and trombones in there and a French horn. So it's creating this. So what we're going to do is find something to play along with here. Now, you can, of course, use your keyboard. I'm using a mouse, so it's a little bit clunky. There's other ways we can do, and the cool thing is I'm going to show you a few different ways. I'm going to show you the chords view. So you can come in here and use your chords. I'm going to show you how to use just the keyboard here. I've plugged in my MIDI keyboard. So yes, you can plug in a MIDI keyboard to your iPad or your iPhone, and you can use that to trigger your sounds. If you want to learn how to plug in a MIDI keyboard, not surprisingly, search my name, Pete John's MIDI keyboard, Pete John's MIDI GarageBand. You're going to find a heap of videos there. So we're going to go and play around with that, and we're even going to explore the wonderful world of autoplay. In fact, why don't we start with autoplay? Because if you've got zero keyboard knowledge, autoplay can kind of get you off to a nice start. Now, the first thing to keep in mind here, however, is our key signature. So you can see I've already put us into C minor. Most of your loops are going to be in a C minor. So that's a C minor chord. And if we listen to this loop that we've already got in there, so you may not know that that's C minor, but I just happen to know. Most of your loops start in C. You can change them to be in other keys, but this one happens to be in C minor. To change your key signature, just tap here on the cog, and then here it will be in C major if you're just starting out. So yours will look like this if you're starting. If you want to make sure you got the right chords for a minor loop set like we've got here, all you need to do is tap on that one, tap on key signature, and go to minor, and we're in business. And now we can use the chords, or we can use autoplay. So let's audition some autoplay, shall we? Let's see what our autoplay 1 will sound like going along with this. So we'll hit the autoplay. So you can see we've got the number 1 there. If we go to number 2 and we tap, that's kind of cool. That's a cool kind of sound. Now, I can't remember, but many of our instruments, if you tap with 2 fingers on the autoplay, let's try that now. That sounded the same, didn't it? Let's tap with 3 fingers. Okay. Sounds like our brass ensemble only has the 1. So some of your instruments will have multiple patterns, so they'll have the ability to tap with 1, 2, or 3 fingers. Some it'll just be with 1, like this brass ensemble. Let's just try the number 3. That's pretty cool. That's probably the front runner so far to go along with this sound. Number 4. I reckon that one's going to work for our intro. So all we need to do now is hit the record button and then tap on what we want here. So we'll tap on the C minor with this autoplay 4 and just record in these first 2 bars. Let's hit record and hit it. All right, so that's cool. So we want that for our first 2 bars. And the reason I stopped it there is that we want to do something different after that. So we'll just drag that back. Once you've recorded in, you can just grab the end and drag it back like that. Now, I think in this next section, we might need a different one. So we can come back in here, and this is the beauty of autoplay. I reckon we'll try number 3 for this. We'll hit the record button, tap autoplay. That's not bad. So we're using our brass ensemble as more of something to sit underneath, because we've already got kind of a brass ensemble sound with the rest of these. So we're going to just experiment with this. Now for the next section, again, we'll just try something. We can alter all these. We can edit, we can change. We'll show you as we go along. I reckon just back to autoplay 1 maybe. Yeah, let's try that. So we'll hit record and record this in. So stop that. Can you hear that that's kind of not working with that rhythm? Because this loop has a different rhythm, we're probably going to have to go and play in manually here. So we're going to do that now. And as I said, I'll show you a bunch of different ways. We'll delete out that section that we just recorded. We'll come back here. Now, before you get scared about playing in manually and you look at this keyboard and you're like, I don't know what notes to hit. I don't know what's in a C minor. Well, guess what? We can use our scale button. Scale is a cool option here, and I'll show you it now. We'll tap on scale. Now, because generally when you want to place notes, we could just use the minor scale here, right? And this is going to mean that and then as you can see there, every note you hit is going to be in the scale. Even cooler than that is if we actually, instead of using the minor scale, we use the minor pentatonic scale, then this is going to give you that pentatonic scale. So So because you've in C minor, you've got your C, your E flat, your F, your G, your B flat, and back to your C. So that's like if you're playing on a keyboard, if you've got your MIDI keyboard, that's like your... That's what you'd play if you were playing a solo or playing along in a minor key. You want to generally use your pentatonic. You don't have to, but it generally sounds the best. And it means that you really can't hit a bung note. And I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to use my mouse because I'm adventurous. And we'll just we'll play along with this and see if we can play in something that's going to sound cool. All right, so playing with the mouse, not so much fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete out that one. But I liked that pattern that I played, so it was just going to be... oh, we don't have the brass ensemble. We'll come back to the instrument. So this way we can actually just wait. So that's the bit we're playing. I'm just playing it over on the keyboard now, just because the timing is going to be a lot easier to play if I record it in here. So let's record in this brass ensemble part. All right, we've got our brass ensemble in there. Now remember, when you're recording like this, leave some space, right? You can actually leave some room, because if we're going to layer up a bunch of different sounds, we don't want it to be overloaded. Everything doesn't need to play all the time. It's really, when you start doing music like this, it's tough to not just go and put everything in there. But we're going to go with that for now. We're going to turn down that brass ensemble because we want that to kind of sit behind as a bit of a pattern. In fact, we'll turn everything down here, because what you'll notice is as we layer up instruments, it's going to get a little bit hectic up in here. So let's just take a listen to these 18 bars. All right, that's not bad. That's not bad. So what we might do, we've left the brass ensemble in that C minor, even though that first loop there kind of changes from the C. I keep not having the... Oh, now I've gone back to here. One moment, please. We'll go back to that instrument. So it kind of goes down to the G minor there, but we've left the brass ensemble in the C minor. We may want to change that later, but don't get too hung up on it. Let's move to a different instrument. French horn time, right? Let's hit the add button. And then this time, more sounds. We're in our other. We're going to add the French horn. We're working upwards, by the way. We're going to finish with the flute. You always got to finish with a flute. So our French horn sound is a lot more of a delicate kind of sound. So what we'll do, we don't even want the French horn in that opening bit. We want it to kind of rise in there, but we might bring it in from here and do a bit of a... we'll play around with something. Let's just experiment, shall we, and see what's going to work in here. We'll hit record. All right, I didn't mind that sound, but I want it to be lower down, so it's... That's the sound we're going for. So let's, we'll need to come from the start here. Whoa, don't do that. That's not what we want. Oh, don't go and play YouTube. All right. That's where we want it. So we're going to come back to the start here. We'll record in some French horn again. We're just using the keyboard. We could use... So we can play exactly the same piece in here, but just for ease of control, I'm using my MIDI keyboard. And if you're starting this sort of stuff, make sure that you're considering a MIDI keyboard. It does make life a lot easier, and you can pick up little ones. This Korg micro keys, about a $60, $70 keyboard. You can get the M Audio Key Station 49, which I use, my bigger one, for about $100. And it's a worthwhile investment if you're going to start creating a lot of music like this. If you want to check out all my gear, go to the gear guide, studiolivetoday.com/gear. Right, let's record in this sucker, shall we? Hear our intro, and then we'll come in with the French horn. Right here. And then we might leave the French horn out of there. Whoop, again, I keep doing that. I keep bumping my thing and bringing up my screen. I never use that screen either. Oh, not on my iPad anyway. So, excuse me. We'll bring that back and we'll drop it out there. And again, we can layer these up if we want more French horn later. But I know we want to jump over and try something new. So let's grab the oboe. The oboe is a pretty cool sounding instrument here. We'll tap there. We'll go more sounds. And we will go the oboe. So let's focus in with the oboe. This could be something that comes in this next section. So just for time, let's see if we can jump in and see what's going to sound good. Once again, instead of playing it in manually, let's use the autoplay feature, shall we? We'll come over here. Now, of course, we could play chords, but chords with an oboe doesn't really sound like it would be that good. Let's try some of the autoplay features. What I'll do this time, and this is a good tip, is audition the different autoplays to go over the top of the loop and see which ones sit in there. So we'll play the 8 bars and we'll move through these different autoplays with the C minor on and see if some of these work, okay? So we'll hit play. So the 1's okay, but let's try the number 2, shall we? Oh. No, see that's got a completely different rhythm. Oh, this one's a bit different. Let's try this one. No, so... And this is the problem you're going to come across with autoplay is depending on the rhythm that you have, and because this particular, and even that brass ensemble doesn't sound great there with this Prismatica horn stabs, so maybe we even remove that. We'll play around with that afterwards. But let's just play in something that's going to work with the oboe and that's going to work with the rhythm of this. In fact, I'm going to delete that brass ensemble bit because I just don't like it. So we'll tap it again, we'll hit delete, and we'll just record some oboe over the top of this Prismatica and bring this in. So where's our oboe sound? There it is. We'll come back to here. And why don't we use, again, we'll use our cheat mode. We'll go to our scale, and we'll go the minor pentatonic. And this time I'll try and play on the screen, shall I? So... that sounds like fun. So let's play a bit of oboe sound here to go along with this. So you can hear there that you really just can't make a mistake, right? You can't hit a wrong note if you're using that minor pentatonic there. Now, I didn't like the first half of that, but I kind of dug the second half. So this is where your editing can come in really handy, because what I can do now is I can just split this in half and go boom and split that out, delete this first part, gone, and then just copy this, boom, copy, and paste it down here. And this means you can move and fly around your parts. And let's see what this sounds like with these bits going. All right, not bad. You know what we need? We need some rhythm in here, don't we? Let's throw in some percussion. We'll throw in a drummer track just to give us a little bit of a funky rhythm here. So we'll find our drummer. Let's find a funky drummer. We'll go to more drummers, acoustic, but we want something with a bit of funk, don't we? We want an R&B. Maybe we'll go with Curtis. I don't use Curtis for anything basically. Let's see what Curtis can bring to the table. And Yeah, that's not going to go so bad. Maybe we'll just try, maybe just something up on the rim shot for this. Yeah, we'll go with that. So with this, because we've got to line these up, we'll just delete out these parts. Boom, delete, boom, delete. If you've not used Drummer before, it's very easy. And as you saw there, just especially to get something to play along with, it can work really well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to those 8 bars and play something like that. We're then going to copy it and paste it into our next section. Tap, paste. And then we can change it up for this section. So let's see what's going to work with our B section. We might want to move into something different. Yeah, that's going to work okay, right? So we'll leave Curtis there for the time being. I'll put him to the top. I like to just drag my rhythm sections to the top. So this way, we'll have it going in there. And you know what? Because we've got this little part in here, we may be able to do something cool. We want a little, like on the 4 beat, we want a little fill to bring us in here. So the way that we do that is that we need to get a second, add in some drums. Select, oh, hang on. We need to add in a new drummer. See this? What I'm going to need to do is, firstly, remove that, make that really small, and place it down the front here. And then copy it, and paste it here into number 3. Boom, paste. Oh, that's what you needed to do. Forget that I just did all that. I couldn't remember how to create a new drum part in a little section, but you know what you do? You just tap in the black section and do create, and it gives you that. But then what we want to do is zoom on into it, because we just want it to be on the 4 beat here, and we want it to have all the fills. So we want Curtis to give us some sort of cool little fill beat to come in here. Let's see what this is going to sound like. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Just want to keep it simple and keep it funky. All right, so now we're getting there. We're starting to bring this together. Let's move on to our next instrument, and it is the bassoon. Can't go wrong with some bassoon, can you? So we'll tap on the plus button. We'll tap this, and we don't want drummer. We want the keyboard. How cool are these instruments, by the way? I did strings yesterday, and I'm doing brass today, and woodwind. We underestimate some of these, I think. You go searching for a different sound, and a lot of these cool sounds are right here, yeah? So this time we're gonna use the bassoon as more of a bass sort of sound, because it's a lower down instrument. So we'll start with that, and we'll hit the record button. Let's just improvise. Let's just have some fun and record, shall we? Hit it. Hit the wrong note. All right. Let's try that again. One more time with feel. Remember, unlimited retries. It's like an arcade game with unlimited quarters to pump in. If you get it wrong, just hit undo. That undo button right there, that's your best friend when you're recording in GarageBand. Or at least it's my best friend. Let's hit record. 2, 3, 4. Right down the center. Didn't do it well again. That's all right. 3rd time's a charm. That's what they say. We're just trying to work out some sort of cool thing. Now, we did fine with that first one. We don't need to replay that C note. So we'll start from here, and we'll hit record. 2, 3. And you may have noticed that when I do something that's a bit wrong, I keep playing, because especially if you're doing a repeated pattern, it really doesn't matter, because we can chop it up afterwards, right? So we'll come in here, we'll split that out, because I didn't like, again, something about my first halves, right? I didn't like the first half of that pattern. So we're going to split that out, we're going to tap it, we're going to delete it, and then we're going to tap this one and copy it, and tap here and hit paste. If all these edit moves are a bit quick, I go through editing in a 3-part series here on the channel. If you, again, you've got to do some searching, but if you go to your YouTube search engine and you search Pete Johns editing, you'll find my complex MIDI editing video, and I've got some MIDI tips video as well. So let's play through with this and see if this bassoon, actually it was that one too. That one I didn't like the first half either. So we're going to do the same thing there. We're going to split it, tap it, delete it. And then this one, we're going to copy and paste over here. Now, I know a lot of folks have said to me since I started using GarageBand on Mac, they're like, don't you find the editing on Mac so much easier? And I don't know whether it's just because I've been doing it on iOS for so long, but I actually find iOS editing a lot easier. Yeah, we've got some folks here live who are liking the, I like the hey girl, yeah girl, which is what I usually sing. There'll be no singing in this one, or will there? Probably not. Let's play this now and see if this is fitting in our mix. All right, so that first note I'm not liking. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete out that second version, and then we'll show you a quick edit. So we're going to tap here, we're going to go edit, and then we'll bring this one, we'll zoom in, and scroll down, because that first note, I think I might want I reckon that's going to be a bit better. And the reason that I deleted that second one there is we don't have to redo this. If we want that exact same thing, we just tap it and we go loop, and it will just fill out the rest of that section. So why using sections is super handy. Let's take a listen to this now, make sure this is going to work for us. That's better. So again, if you get the notes wrong, you can fix them on the spot, or you can come back and do different things. Should we move on? We've got a couple of instruments to go. We've got the clarinet, and while I bring up the clarinet, I'll let you know that I played the clarinet as a 13-year-old. I was just awful. I played it for 2 years, and yeah, it was my high school instrument. And when I went to a music specialist school, and they're like, you need to choose an instrument. And I'm like, saxophone. And they said, no, you cannot play the saxophone until you learn the clarinet. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was just terrible at it. So yeah, eventually I gave up music at high school. And ironically, that's when I started playing more music. So does that say something about our organized education system? Maybe. Anyway, the clarinet sounds cool. So what we're going to use the clarinet for, I think, is a little bit, probably for this section here, for this first bit, it'll just be playing sort of some longer notes, and then we might go up in the register and play some like little trills and things. So we might have a bit of fun with this one. So we'll jump into the clarinet. There it is. All right, let's just, look, we'll experiment with this here. We'll start on the C, and we'll just play something in. All right, didn't like that one iota. The first half was probably okay. So we'll scrap the second half. Let's just make sure, see what this first half did. So the second half of that was probably a little better. So again, something about my second halves that I play them okay. First half, not so much. See your first half. Now this time, I'm just going to drag this across, and then we'll loop it, tap it, loop it. Now we'll loop all the way, but we can just grab this and bring it on back. And again, when you're just doing arranging like this, It's really cool, isn't it? It's very, very fun just to experiment, and you can do it really quickly and easily here in GarageBand. Let's go back. Why don't we try some more autoplay? We're jumping all over the place, I know, but I want to make sure that this is going to be good for folks who know how to play the keyboard and maybe those who are just starting out or want to use some of the things like autoplay. So if we come here to our notes, again, we could play... Actually, that's not actually bad, but we'll try some autoplay. Let's again audition some autoplays. Again, it might not sit nicely in this, but we'll give it a try. So we'll hit play. All right, that number 3 seems to be okay. Everything else is a little bit off the beat. So we'll go with the autoplay 3. Again, to record autoplay, if you're just joining us here live, or if you're watching the replay and you want a refresher, we need to just tap. Now let's just see if we've got the multi-finger option on this one. So 1 finger, 2 fingers. No, we've only got the 1 option. So with some of your bass guitar, your bass instruments and some of the strings and things, we've got multiple autoplays. Not so much with the clarinet. The licorice stick didn't get the love. Someone's going to use that sample out of context. Let's hit record and tap on the C minor and play in this G little clarinet. And to save us time, because time is of the essence, you don't need to watch me do this twice, we can just loop that. So it's going to be the same thing. Tap it there, tap it, and then loop it. And there you go. We got ourselves some clarinet, some licorice stick in the mix. We'll tap again. You can see we're starting to build up some sounds here. We'll tap again, and then we're going to go with our last windy instrument, which is our flute. Any flautists in the house? Give me a shout. Give me a shout, flout. So what I'm going to do with the flute is I'm going to stick the minor pentatonic scale on again, and I'm just going to go nuts, just flying all over the place in this section up the top here. So let's, excuse me, we'll tap the scale button again. We'll go the minor pentatonic, and this is where we can we can move up and down, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. I hope it's so anyway. So I'm literally just going to hold my finger down there and see if I can actually, keep it together and keep the timing happening here while I actually record. So 2, 3. It's fun. It's not going to be quite right, but for you know what, for our intents and purposes, we are going to we're going to go with it. There it is. There's our slightly insane. Now, it might be a good time to mention that we do have the ability to do quantizing. So if you're not aware of what quantizing is, that'll help your notes line up on the grid. So if we tap on this button here and we go to our track settings, you can see we've got quantization here. At the moment, we've got no quantization. So if we just solo and bring in our metronome, let's take a listen to this flute and see how close we are to the beat. Now, am I playing a triplet with rhythm or a swing rhythm there? I can't tell. So let's just see if we put a swing, and we'll put an eighth note swing, because I think I'm kind of swinging it around that. And what this will do is it will line up our notes to an eighth note and to a swing. So this is probably going to sound terrible. We'll probably actually, I think, we're using the 16th note. So we'll play this now. Yeah, so it's got it more out of time. Let's try the triplet, shall we? The 1/16th triplet, because it might actually be a triplet rhythm that I'm going with here. Not quite working, is it? The 32nd note, maybe? Yeah, no. It'll take some playing and some trial and error. What we'll do at this stage is we'll just do a 64th note straight, which just means it'll slightly adjust some of those timings to kind of bring them back closer to where they should be on the grid. It's a lot easier if you're doing an EDM track that's just, in 4/4. Doof, 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 doof. When you start getting all jazzy and funky, it gets a little bit tricky. But let's come back in here. We'll take the metronome off and we will take a listen to this section now that we've added in and laid up these different instruments and see what we got. Again, you got to have fun when you do music, right? Final stage is we're just going to show a little tiny dash of mixing. So I'm not going to go into detail about mixing in this video, but I just wanted to show you a little bit. So what we can what we can start doing here is layering up our sound. Now you can see here I've started mixing as we've been going here, so our sound should be pretty much okay. But what I'll do is I'll play this back and we'll get a static mix so that I can sort of get it in about the spot that I want it to be to start with. Let's try this. That French horn comes down a bit, yeah? Right, and then we move into our next section. All right, I think our static mix is kind of about right. And again, we've spent 30 minutes here today. You could obviously spend a lot longer, and you don't need to kind of rush it the way I did. I want to just show as much stuff as I could in the shortest possible time. So we've got our brass ensemble, French horn, oboe, bassoon, clarinet, flute. We've got those loops that we put in there at the start. We even added in a little bit of percussion. We don't need this one. That's a vocal track. Maybe I come along and we sing a funky tune. Maybe that can be our follow-up video for tomorrow. Let me know if you would dig that. Let's come here, and the other thing we can do is we could play with effects. That's for another day as well. So you can come into your plugins and EQ. You can change around your reverbs and your delays and things. What I tend to do is just throw a little bit of reverb on every track. Most of them have it already. You can see there. But for those that don't, we'll just give it a little verb. The bassoon won't need much because it's kind of a bass instrument. But the reason I do that is, especially on your drums, it'll kind of glue them together. It'll put them in kind of the same space. And that's a cool thing. So the one final thing you can do is your panning. So if we come in here, you can see here we've got our drums down the middle, we've got those loops down the middle, but what we might want to do is maybe we want this brass ensemble to be a little over to the left. Maybe we put our French horn a little to the right to get a bit of stereo spectrum. And then with things like the bassoon will stay down the middle, and maybe our oboe here, which, no, we'll keep the oboe in the middle too. But maybe you put, so when you've got two instruments like this, let's go the clarinet to the left and the flute to the right. So this just gives us, if we play this second section, we've moved things around a little bit. You've got your clarinet one side and your flute on the other. You just get a bit more of a stereo spectrum like this. And hear how, like, you got that reverb on the drums now. Just brings them into the space so that when you nice. Alrighty, that is it. That is our track. A little bit funky, a little bit groovy, a bit of a 70s disco kind of vibes. We've got folks in the chat saying they need to get their roller skates going on. I hope you found this useful. Definitely jump in and check out some of these instruments. Super underrated, but super cool and super funky. So thanks for being here. Let's just play this one more time on the way out. If you have any questions, comments, or any other feedback, drop it in the chat. Drop it in the comments down below. Head over to studiolivetoday.com for all of your mobile recording needs. And until next time, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.